What's up, everybody listening on their radios? This is Sports, Politics, and More, live from New York City. I am your host, Andrew Pollack, joined as always by the wonderful Frank Todaro. Good evening, sir.
If I live to be 100, I'll never be able to forget that big snowstorm a couple of years ago. The weather closed in and, well, you might not believe it, but the world almost missed Christmas. Oh, excuse me. Call me Sam. What's the matter? Haven't you ever seen a talking snowman before? Nice around here, isn't it? I call it Christmas Town, better known as the North Pole. The Christmas tree forest. Yep, here's where we grow them. Nice place to live, you know. Christmas seals. Of course, the number one citizens up here are the Clauses, Santa and the Missus. They live right over there. First castle on the left. Matter of fact, the only castle on the left.
Papa, you haven't touched...
All right, Andrew. How you doing?
Oh, I'm doing good.
Christmas
Our audience wants to know, what's that from?
Oh, that's from the movie Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer.
Really?
1964. Come on. It comes on once a year.
Oh, I didn't recognize that. My bad.
That's Sam the Snowman. Don't you know?
Maybe.
Come on. You never saw the damn movie?
I've seen it maybe once.
What? Get out of here. Get out of town.
Well, I still have my other holiday movies in front of me. Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer's not here.
Andrew, do my ears deceive me, or is your voice booming this week?
Yes. Right now, I have good news. Spectrum delivered so far. It sounds like my Wi-Fi is about 1 megabyte per second, I think, or something like that.
Wow, incredible. So you think you can manage to stay on the air for an hour this week?
I really hope so. Because right now I'm not in the brightest of moods.
Why? What happened?
Roy Moore lost.
Well, that's because that's what happens when you get months of fake news.
Frank, I'm getting really nervous that Pelosi's getting the gavel back.
No, did you see that that signature was indeed fake?
What signature?
That woman who accused him, she showed her yearbook.
The yearbook?
Yeah, it's fake. She admitted it, and she forged it, and he's taking her to court. But see, it's too late because this is what the fake news is doing, and we're gonna touch on that in this episode. See, that's the fake news' new strategy now is they put out the fake stories, and then when they get busted or shortly thereafter, then they apologize and say, "Oh, we made a mistake." You know that's not good enough. There has to be accountability. You can't just make mistakes when you're the news every day.
Exactly, and that's why ABC suspended Brian Ross.
Yeah, and among other people that are going to get suspended. They just can't do that anymore.
I really hope that this becomes a trend in 2018, where people are using yellow plagiarism to their advantage.
So here, let's let our good friend Mark Dice explain.
Hi, Mark. True that the Trump campaign was colluding with the Russians and WikiLeaks in order to steal the election last year. Only once again, hours later, to have to issue another retraction and admit that their multiple sources were in fact ridiculously wrong. Let's listen to this buffoon and try to explain what happened.
We're actually correcting a story that we have been reporting throughout the day today about an email that was sent to the Trump campaign, to then candidate Trump, Donald Trump Jr., and others during the heat of the campaign season. This email included a decryption key and also a link to where they could access some of these hacked WikiLeaks documents from the Democratic National Committee. Now, we've been reporting that this email came on September 4th. That was before some of these documents were publicly available. But we have just...
That's proof that they've conspired. Proof that they got tipped off in advance about the hacked emails. Proof that they were in on it this whole time. The only problem is that this email that was sent to the Trump campaign telling them about the hacked emails from the DNC
was after they were already published by WikiLeaks, and everybody knew about them. CNN sources placed the date of the email 10 days earlier, which would have meant that they got tipped off in advance before WikiLeaks published them. But then, upon further review, it was revealed that the email was actually after they were already available and everybody already knew about them. Even the Washington Compost admitted the painful truth and corrected CNN's story for them, saying that the email pointed the Trump campaign to WikiLeaks documents that were already public. Here's the original story on CNN.com. And then they changed the headline, removed Donald Trump Jr.'s picture from it, and issued a correction about getting the date wrong, too. The new headline says that the email pointed the Trump campaign to WikiLeaks documents, and then they put Roger Stone's picture in there instead of Donald Trump Jr.'s.
Correction alert, correction alert.
The story has
2018's calling.
It said that the date of the email was September 14th, 2016, not September 4th. The story also changed the headline and removed a tweet from Donald Trump Jr. This whole fiasco caused the hashtag Things I Trust More Than CNN to become the #1 trend on Twitter from people ridiculing them by posting things like this. These dreamers, these guys, driving downhill on black ice, no brakes, no horn, no seatbelts, and a chicken driving my car. Hitchhiking clown.
All right. So you get the idea.
Yes, we get it.
Fake news.
Yes. Now, well, listen. There was another one. There's another story about some guy, reporter from the Washington Post, who he tweeted a picture of Trump's campaign rally last night. He posted a picture of the audience hours before the rally started. It was half empty.
Oh, you mean that stupid idiot?
Yeah. And then of course it's when Trump points it out, he's the bad guy.
Exactly, and it makes him look bad. It's
it
all over the internet anyway.
It doesn't make Trump look bad. All right, so listen.
No, it doesn't make Trump look bad. It looks like it makes the moron look bad.
Yeah, well, listen. You want to listen. You got when you want to if you're a reporter and you want to post something, you better make sure that before you press that send button, it's the truth, or it's at least the truth as far as everybody knows is to be. But listen, we got somewhat of a big show tonight, Andrew. We're gonna have your recap, of course, your weekly recap at 8:12, and then we'll have your 2-minute warning at 8:13, and then at 8:15.
Yes, and I'm still upset Pittsburgh beat Baltimore last week.
Okay, and then at 8:15 we'll have a special guest, former host Nick, and maybe John. They're gonna be talking about something that happened to them. They Nick claims they were wrongfully terminated from their employment.
Oh yeah, the story broke on Sunday night, I think.
Yeah. You can't mention the company, Andrew. You understand?
Yeah, I know, because our network executives told us, for lawsuit reasons.
Yeah, our network executives.
Look, I love this network. I don't want to get terminated.
Well, you just keep a good Wi-Fi signal. You'll be all right. And then at 8:30 we'll have the news. Of course, we'll cover all the fake news and stuff that's happening. But so Andrew, actually, that's my. I keep telling you that's my field of study, human resources,
HR,
and we'll see if we could get. I'll click up the link here. But so what else has been going on, Andrew?
Well, honestly, I saw it on the Drudge Report that another woman came forward against Harvey Weinstein.
Oh, Salma Hayek?
Yeah, it's all over the internet now. It's crazy.
She was a big time. She was a pretty big actress at one time. She's very. She was hot. I think she's hot. I think
she's hot at 51. Come on.
She was. But yeah, she was always. She was always smoking. But listen. I mean, but listen. Like I kept saying on all our shows previously, why did everybody wait until now? I mean, what now everybody got the courage? I don't understand.
I just don't understand why it had to transpire now.
No, that's what I'm saying. If all these allegations, if they were true, why didn't everybody come forward? I mean, everybody was so scared about their career that they'd rather keep quiet. I mean, all these women were so scared that they were more worried about their career than actually coming out and putting out a statement. I mean, I don't know. I'm not saying, like I said a million times, I take all these allegations serious. I just don't understand. All right, so listen, let's move on to your recap. Andrew, you started last week at 24-25. You had the Saints -5 over the Falcons. The Falcons defeated the Saints by a field goal, 2017. You actually held on for the win.
Yes.
Oh, no, actually, no. You had the Saints oh, no, that's a loss. I'm sorry. You had the Saints -1.5. They lost outright, so that's a loss.
Oh! Right, because I picked New Orleans.
No, you had the Saints -1.5. So they actually they lost 2017, but the final score is actually 2015.5.
And I lost the Kansas City Oakland game.
All right, well we'll get to that. So you had Kansas City +3 over KC. KC wins outright 26-15. That's a loss. You had Minnesota -2.5 over Carolina. Carolina wins outright in the upset.
Because they picked off Keenum so many times.
No, listen, Andrew, what did I tell you? In gambling, there is no excuses.
Right, exactly.
There's only the final scores. Carolina wins 31-24 on the road to stay alive in the playoffs. You had the Rams -2 over the Eagles. Philadelphia bashed the Rams 43-35. That's a loss.
Right.
So to avoid the sweep, you had the Ravens +6, and Pittsburgh won 39-38 over Baltimore. So that's
win.
Yes. I see. You staved off a complete five losses. So that brings your record. That's 1-4. That brings your record to 25-29, Andrew.
Okay.
Good. All right. So now, do you have your 2-minute warning? Go ahead.
All right. Here we go. All right, everyone. It's week 15 of the NFL. So that means 3 weeks left. Who's going to make the playoffs, and who's going to be on the verge of elimination from not even chasing a playoff spot? That's the question. That will be determined. Okay, first up, lock of the week. I'm sorry the spread is not bigger as it's supposed to be. Well, I'm going to stick with the spread, and I'm going to give my Baltimore Ravens -7 points to beat the Cleveland Browns. Cleveland is on path to become the second team in NFL history to go 0-16.
Who was the first, Andrew?
The 2008 Detroit Lions.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yes. So Baltimore should go 3-0 down the stretch. Their path starts by cleaning the Cleveland Browns. Okay. Saturday night, we had the Los Angeles Chargers playing the Kansas City Chiefs, which could possibly determine the AFC West. I like LA for this reason. Phillip Rivers will come to battle Alex Smith. I just don't see Kansas City winning. I don't even think they should be in the playoffs or even win this division, so I am going to give the Los Angeles Chargers -1.5 points, and I even think they'll win by a field goal, for crying out loud. Now, the Green Bay Packers taking on the Carolina Panthers. In this matchup, it's very interesting because Super Bowl MVP Aaron Rodgers is coming back from injury reserve. I think Mason Crosby will kick a game-winning field goal against Carolina, and the Green Bay Packers will win +1 point. And last but... Oh, right, 2 more picks. Stupid me. All right, LA Rams. I think they will bounce back from the awful loss against Philadelphia. They will beat the Seattle Seahawks +1 point. And I can't believe I'm actually saying this, but hear me out, everyone.
Andrew, when you take a plus, that doesn't mean they have to win the game.
Oh, okay.
They could still lose the game outright. What does the +1 mean?
Oh, it means I could still lose if the team I pick loses.
You're giving the Rams +1.
Oh.
So you're
Right.
you're adding 1 to their final score. So if the game is a tie, and you add +1 to the Rams, you're going to win. So you should.
Overtime, yeah.
No. If the game ends in a tie, official tie, like let's say the game ends 21-21, right?
Right.
It ends in a tie. You're going to win the game because you gave the Rams +1.
I gave him a point. All right.
So when you pick a +1 game, that's the you got to think that you should stay away from games like that.
Yeah, well,
the only way you're going to win that game is if they win outright.
Yeah, but I want the Rams to win.
Okay, I know, but I'm saying the only way you're going to win the bet is if they win outright.
All right. So anyhow, back to my last pick, and hear me out, everyone. I never root for New England, but hear me out, everyone. Brady was awful last week against the Dolphins. 2 interceptions. I think because of the history, Brady knows how to beat the Steelers, and I think the Patriots, led by Tom Brady, will beat Ben Roethlisberger and the Steelers. So there you go. I'm actually picking New England for a change.
Okay, very good. All right, so now we're a little behind schedule. Is Nick Durst on the air with us?
I'm here. I just want to say it's hysterical that after 15 weeks of doing picks, Andrew still has no clue what he's doing and does not understand the spread.
Listen, that's what I keep saying at the end of every week. It just shows you the science behind gambling. He's 25.
Yeah, but Nick, are you happy I picked New England this week?
What's the spread? You probably don't even know.
The spread was 2.5, but I'm giving them 3.
But why would you do that? You're handicapping yourself even more.
You can give the Patriots 14 because their average margin of victory this season is around 20, and the last 4 times they played the Steelers, they whooped them.
I think they're going to win out, and I think they will be the first seed in the AFC.
Okay. All right. So let's switch gears. It's time to get a little serious. Nick, former host of Spam. Tell us. Why are you on the air with us this week?
Well, I just want to make this very clear that this is like painting the bigger picture here of what's wrong right now in America in the workplace. And essentially, what happened in my case was that I guess disagreed with somebody at this organization on a particular topic. And they took it the wrong way. What literally happened was I posted a link to something that happened in regards to Carmelo Anthony. This particular person who fired me took it as me calling him out, never said a word about him, didn't tag him or anything. He got extremely angry. All of a sudden he couldn't read and he was making things up, saying I said all these things, but it didn't happen. And essentially from that, Carmelo Anthony is the reason I got fired. So,
hey, Carmelo Anthony's responsible for another person getting fired. Now let me ask you, Nick, did your quote unquote boss supervisor tell you couldn't do this? You can post publicly against him?
Listen, if I was publicly calling out my supervisor in front of the rest of the team, I could understand it. But I did not mention him by name. There was no ill will mentioned towards it. This website, they are obsessed with Carmelo Anthony, much like you are, Frank. But even you, Frank, you said he's old news now.
It's a dead horse. Yeah, it's
time to move on. So I said, Carmelo Anthony, he just won the game for the Thunder with a big block. Here's the video. I just said, since we are still keeping tabs on Carmelo Anthony, he turned around and said, how dare you say, why is Carmelo Anthony relevant? And asked me, why the heck am I still paying attention to Carmelo Anthony? That never happened. The conversation is there for everybody to see. People, they can't read anymore. I don't know what's going on. Maybe we need to get an investigation here from the FBI. Maybe Russia colluded with him. I have no idea what's going on.
Listen,
and then I got fired, and there was no explanation. I didn't get a response, and then he must have realized that I said, look, here's the conversation. I didn't say this. You're telling I said it, and you can look for yourself to all these points you said that you're saying I said this, which didn't happen. He must have got embarrassed and realized that not everything he accused me of saying wasn't said. And it's not like, oh, it's a he said, she said. It's literally black and white. It's right there for the writing, the whole interaction.
Right.
I post a link at 10 p.m. on a Saturday. He wakes up at 4 a.m. on a Sunday and decides to get attacked. Maybe he was very angry because he didn't get enough sleep. He shouldn't be up at 4 o'clock on a Sunday morning.
Right. Well, listen,
I agree with that.
If you listen to the top of the show, that's what the show is. This episode is about. The news media making printing stories, posting stories, and then retracting them only after they were found to be false.
Right. So I decided everybody needs to be careful in the workplace now. You really have to be careful with what you say. They say don't talk politics in the office. That makes sense. But apparently, any little thing you say that's a disagreement with the higher ups, it might cost you your job. This organization is very lucky that they're not an actual company, because they would have a wrongful termination suit on their hands. Lots of bad PR.
Hold on. I'm gonna read. I told you this is my field of study, human resources. I'm gonna read from you the law. It's called at-will employment. It says employment is considered quote-unquote at-will and therefore not guaranteed in all states besides Montana. This means your employer is free to terminate your employment at any time for any reason or for no particular reason at all. The exception, though, is when an employee is fired for illegal reasons such as discrimination or retaliation or in violation of an employment contract. That's why I asked you if...
There you have it. It's retaliation.
No. That's why I asked you if he said not to post anything going against... Okay, then if you are able to prove that your termination was prompted by racial intolerance or a cultural of sexism, for instance, then you might have a claim for wrongful termination. So it doesn't... You don't look like you have a good case, other than maybe your boss is an asshole.
You cannot fire somebody over a sports opinion. So.
Well, I'm reading you the law. They according to the law, your employer could fire you at any time, except if he's discriminating or retaliation. I don't know. That you would have to get a shark lawyer to figure that word out.
Listen, it wasn't exactly an at-will employment situation, and obviously the two of you do some work for this website, and they another issue with them is they don't really pay you, and they're supposed to.
So you're telling me they weren't paying you that much?
They were not paying what a normal amount of people, a normal workload would insist entail of.
So forget them. What are you worried about? It's just use them for exposure, and that's it. What?
The other problem is they deleted all my files on the list.
See, that's
but there's no need to put a wrongful termination lawsuit against this company.
Andrew, I'm not filing a lawsuit. I'm saying.
But see, that's stupid. That's stupid of that person or that company to delete your stuff.
Right, my intellectual property, and
they can still use it to make to get views and stuff. No.
Right. And the other issue is obviously that I hosted 2 shows for this website, and by me and this boss not liking having the same views on Carmel Anthony, they, collateral damage, also lost their positions. They can no longer do their show. Very messy situation, but like Sarah Huckabee Sanders said the other day, these organizations, they need to be careful with their public statements, and once they mess up, they should issue retractions, unlike ABC, who took hours and hours with Brian Ross to say, oops, we made a little mistake.
But see, even I said this at the beginning. Retractions are good, but they're not enough. You can't keep making the same mistake over and over and just keep saying sorry. You can't keep issuing fake stories.
Make mistakes.
Nah, yeah. You can't keep. Listen, it's like you tell your kid, you can't keep making a mistake and then saying you're sorry. Somewhere along the line, you have to learn from your mistakes, and you have to be accountable and get punished.
I'm interested here to hear about how Andrew feels, because he's about to enter into an at-will agreement here with this organization to host the show.
Well, as far as the organization is concerned, I'm not going to discuss it until at least till January.
Oh, okay. Big things happening. Big things happening.
Well, I mean, I want to do countdown list on my YouTube channel.
See, Andrew, you should keep that. You should keep your podcast on your channel and just give them the article along with your podcast. You understand?
Well, I'm possibly going to record my reaction to Giancarlo Stanton getting traded to the Yankees.
But you post that to your channel, so it's your property. You understand?
Exactly. I'm going to I'm going to do the recording tomorrow night.
But post it on your channel.
Yes,
And
it should be up on Friday.
And then they borrow it from your channel. You understand? They have to cite the source from your channel.
Yes, if they want to distribute it that way, this so-called company, I'm fine with that. But I don't want any pay.
Right. And Nick, you have any Andrew scoops for us?
Listen, I just want everybody to be very aware of the New York City Freelance Isn't Free Act, Local Law 140 of 2016. Okay, this is the NYC FIFA, the Freelance Isn't Free Act. You need to know your rights, people, when you get into agreements with different sorts of companies. There could be some treble damages under certain circumstances, especially if there's unpaid compensation. As far as Andrew goes, Andrew, I think that you should start letting Frank put his videos on your YouTube channel.
Oh boy!
Well, we'll work on a collaboration in the future.
Yeah, maybe you could do a video. This would be a great video.
I would love to bring back Talk Wrestling.
It should be you two on camera, and it'll be Frank trying to explain the spread to Andrew. And it could be called Gambling for Dummies.
Oh, Gambling 101 for Dummies.
Or Degenerates Stay Woke.
Oh, my God.
Degenerates Stay Woke.
All right, so Nick, do you have any plans as to your future whereabouts?
I mean, I could be popping up on a television network near you soon, or also a radio station. So stay tuned. Be sure to let you guys know, of course. And the other thing I want to briefly mention here is that just in the media landscape of things, a quick aside here is that television ratings are not as important anymore, and obviously we see with the big deal with WWE and Facebook this week that social media is very important.
Yes.
And I'm telling you guys, as someone who's worked in media for a while now, forget about the old ways of things with cable and television and radio. Everything's going digital and social, and it's going to be a major shift in the pyramid of the news landscape.
I agree.
And I told my parents that in the future, I might not even have cable. I might just go with an internet television provider.
Yeah, that's YouTube is trying to move that way. But
I'm considering PlayStation.
Whatever. Everybody will pretty much stream their content over their devices and laptop.
Right.
Okay. All right. So Nick, thanks.
Andrew, tell Frank to come back to the OWN page on Facebook.
We'll see.
All right, take care, everybody, and happy holidays. Merry Christmas and happy Hanukkah.
Okay. Thanks, Nick. We'll see you next year.
Wait.
Okay. All right, Andrew. It's time for it's 8:30. It's time for the news.
All right. Yeah, we better do the news before we get distracted, right, Frank?
Yes.
All right, here's the news, everyone. 8:30. And tonight, we lead off with developing news. Not breaking. Republican tax plan and final sprint across the finish line. Tonight, we can happily report that the House of Representatives and the Senate have agreed on one simple tax plan. So that's the good news right now. All right. So here is the article I'm going to read from the teleprompter. The day after Roy Moore lost the Alabama special Senate election, congressional Republicans sped forward with the most sweeping tax rewrite in decades announcing an agreement on a final bill that would cut taxes for businesses and individuals and mark the party's first legislative achievement since assuming political control this year. Party leaders in the House of Representatives and the Senate agreed in principle to bridge the yawning gaps between their competing versions of the $1.5 trillion tax dollar bill, keeping Republicans on track for final votes next week with the aim of delivering the bill to President Trump's desk by Christmas Day. The House and Senate versions of the tax bill started from the same core principles, cutting taxes on business sharply while reducing rates and eliminating some breaks for individuals, but diverged on several key details. The changes include a slightly higher corporate tax rate of 21%, rather than the 20% originally proposed by the Senate, that passed both chambers, and a lower top individual tax rate of 37% for the wealthiest Americans, who currently pay 39.6%. But the bill will still scale back some popular tax breaks as a state and local tax deduction and the deductibility of mortgage interest.
Right. And there was the argument that they should just go ahead and vote on this ASAP, regardless of the new or the old retired senators who got voted out. What do you think about that? Hello? Oh my God! All right, you're way to go, Andrew. Great Wi-Fi. So yeah, the argument is, oh my goodness, the argument is that they want to, they just want to go ahead and vote on this as soon as possible, regardless of which senators were voted out or retired. And in an effort to assuage concerns, the wealthy individuals would face a potential tax increase. The top individual income tax rate will drop to 37%, as Andrew said, down from 39.6% in the Senate bill and 38.5% in the House bill. And the lower rate will apply to more people, allowing those at income levels below the $1 million cutoff outlined in both the House and Senate bills to claim the marginal rate. The conference bill will preserve the individual's alternative minimum tax, which the House bill had eliminated and the Senate bill retained in a watered-down form, but it will apply to even fewer taxpayers than the Senate bill would have. The congressional aide said the alternative tax, which was put in place to ensure high-income earners didn't exploit loopholes to avoid paying taxes, would kick in for individuals earning $500,000 and above and couples earning $1 million or more. Listen, just get it done. Vote on it. It could only be positive. Tax cuts could only be positive to the economy. Now, again, Andrew, what happened? He got cut off again. Aren't you embarrassed, Andrew? Aren't you embarrassed? I'm waiting for him to message me. I can't believe it. This guy, he just said not 30 minutes ago that Spectrum put in a new Wi-Fi, and what happened? He got cut off again. It's not Wi-Fi, Andrew. It's you. Speaking of the devil, Pope Francis issued a statement this week saying, "Do not argue with the devil because he is much more intelligent than us." And it goes on to say, Satan is not a metaphor or a nebulous concept, but a real person armed with dark powers, the Pope said in forthright remarks made during a television interview. He's evil. He is not like mist. He's not a diffused thing. He is a person. I'm convinced that one must never converse with Satan. If you do that, you'll be lost, he told TV 2000, a Catholic channel, gesticulating with his hands to emphasize his point. He's more intelligent than us, and he'll turn you upside down. He'll make your head spin. Okay? He'll always pretend to be polite. He does it with priests, with bishops. That's how he enters your mind, but it ends badly if you don't realize what is happening in time. We should tell him, go away, Pope Francis said. 3 years ago, the Argentinian pontiff told a convention of exorcists from around the world that they were doing sterling work in combating the devil's works. Now, listen, if this is still an ongoing debate when you see these filmed exorcisms Are they real? Are they fake? Is it mental illness, or is it in fact some supernatural, spiritual, demonic possession, as we call it? He said that Exodus needed to show the love and welcome of the church for those possessed by evil. Notice there's no mention of Christ here. Of course, Christ is out of the picture now. In 2013, during an address to crowds of faithful in St. Peter's Square, he said the devil often appears disguised as an angel and slyly speaks his words to us. He shares stories about the devil's devious ways when he gives his daily homilies in the chapel of the guest house where he lives inside the Vatican. Last week, Pope Francis called for the wording of the Lord's Prayer to be changed so that it blames the devil rather than God for leading us into temptation. So what he said in that regard is that the Lord's Prayer was badly translated from the original Greek translation. I don't know. I never, as a Catholic growing up, I never got the hint that it was God leading me into temptation. It was the devil leading me into temptation. So I don't know. Pope Francis is a slippery snake himself, often weighing in on political issues from around the world. Whether you're a Catholic or a Christian or a Muslim or a Jew, it's up to you to make the final choice. So moving on, as we talked about early in the show, in the top of the show, about the media's terrible week, and I think it's their terrible metaphor change nowadays. It's no longer news. It's just more of sensationalized gossip and rumors, clickbait articles to get views. As Nick mentioned, cable ratings, TV ratings no longer matter. It's all about now social media and getting as many clicks and views onto your article as possible. The hell with the truth. I mean, this is what I'm trying to say. My whole point of this is most of the people who who click onto an article, first of all, they read the headline. Then it's been studied that anybody who clicks onto the article reads the first few paragraphs. They never actually make it to the end, and once they click off, that will be their primary impression of what's going on. So all these news media and outlets can make retractions and apologies. All they want. It doesn't matter, because as you saw in the case with the election with Roy Moore, the damage is already done. Okay, nobody's going to read the retraction. Let's say 2,000 people read the original false news story in the beginning. Probably less than 500 will actually get to read the retraction and add one and one and say, "Oh, that was fake," or "That was false." The damage is done, and they know this. This is their new scheme and plot to circumvent into misleading the American public. Okay, I say there should be accountability. Like I said, whether you're a journalist, a writer, whoever you are, a news network, major or minor, before you hit that send button or you go live and you put out that story, you better make damn sure that what you're about to say or what you're about to print is the truth. Otherwise, you should be held accountable. Something should happen to you. You should be there should be a penalty against you posting more news. Maybe your news outlet or news organization should be punished financially, or maybe not allowed to print news. Anyway, so the review set out a refresher of everything that went wrong, and it was quite a list. Of course, if you've listened to Spam over the last couple of weeks, that's primarily what we do here. Most of it, we point out these fake news stories or these false, misleading stories. Brian Ross's disaster bombshell report that Michael Flynn was prepared to testify that he had been instructed by then-candidate Trump to open contacts with Russian officials eager to meddle in the election. Later that day, Mr. Ross corrected himself, conceding that it was shortly after the election that the directive was issued Big difference, yeah. We told you that. I told you that a couple of weeks ago. The big difference, the severe difference between then candidate Trump and elected President Trump. That is a big difference in the Logan Act, which is what they were accusing the president of violating. The Logan Act, in which an unelected presidential candidate will try to shape, shift, or direct United States foreign policy. And of course, this. How many times do I have to say this? Go back to March of this year when Comey and Adam Schiff of the NSA testified in the Senate hearings. Trump was never under investigation. He's not under investigation. This is all, like he said, a ruse. It's all. This is all a sensationalized story. And Flynn, all he pleaded guilty to 2 weeks ago was that he lied to the FBI. It doesn't make it true. The FBI never proved that he lied, or it wasn't officially confirmed that he lied. Flynn just raised his hand and said that he did lie. Maybe that was his plea. He pleaded guilty to avoid any other charges. I don't know. But when you have someone, when all you have is someone pleading guilty to lying to the FBI, that's not much, okay? It's pretty much the bottom of the barrel as far as the law is concerned. So, again, this is just the news media trying to just keep the story alive because it's a big winner. A lot of people are addicted to this story, and it has a lot of legs. Even though it has no spine, it has a lot of legs. So he was taken off the beat for 4 weeks, and the president will be off limits to him. And like I said, do you think Brian Ross, maybe he was a patsy and he fell on his sword? Do you really think that it was Brian Ross who came out with this story? No, he was probably reading off a teleprompter. And so he has to fall on his sword because of the backlash against ABC, which caused the stock market to tumble at 350 points at 11 a.m. that day. So Reuters and Bloomberg had to correct their dispatches that special counsel Robert Mueller had subpoenaed President Trump's personal bank records after the Wall Street Journal reported that subpoenas were for people or entities affiliated with the president. Not quite the same thing. So you see, more lies, more deceit. Excuse me. This is the other big thing that the media is trying to push or wishes that Mueller is going after Trump's bank records. They leaked out that they subpoenaed Deutsche Bank to go after Trump's records when the president stated that would be crossing the line. That would be the red line that Mueller would cross if he started going after his financial records and his family's financial records. Again, more hocus pocus. And the next one, CNN, CBS, and MSNBC all breathlessly reported that they had discovered an email that proved the Trump campaign got an advanced look at emails hacked by WikiLeaks. The story fell apart when it emerged, as the London papers typically put it, that the networks got the date of the email wrong and it was old fake news when the president first saw it. And if you back to the top of the hour, CNN reported the same thing. They reported September 4th that the Trump campaign got a link to the WikiLeaks email. Instead, it was September 14th when WikiLeaks had already published it. You see, they're just they're begging. You see, in my day, we used to call this begging. You're begging. They're begging for Trump to be guilty or found guilty or something. Keep begging because nothing's happening. Instead, you notice all the attention is on Trump. Zero on Hillary, Fusion One, and Comey lying. Nothing there. Mr. Trump, like all wise presidents, regards the press as an adversary, if not an actual enemy, and he's naturally eager to pounce on anything that smells even faintly of fake news, and rightfully so. Listen, he's got to defend himself because no one else will. Nobody in the media is going to defend him except maybe Fox once in a blue moon. So he's got to go after them, and that's why, as much as people and maybe myself sometimes don't like him tweeting and his Twitter account, that's a very powerful weapon for him to defend himself. I bet you that he wouldn't have to use that too much if the news was actually reporting what they should be reporting. So he had a wonderful, terrific, very good, fantastic week. He heard hardly a discouraging word all week by any definition. His week was huge, as they say. Several days later, Ms. Aldred and her clients, this is the Roy Moore thing that I pointed out earlier, conceded that, well, maybe it wasn't, it had been tweaked a little with emendations, all very helpful naturally, and improvements. Ms. Aldred is a distinguished lawyer, of course, but she was apparently indisposed on the day. Professors at not one but two law schools lectured the class on the inadvisability of trifling with evidence. Doctored evidence is hard to get past a judge. This was, of course, Gloria Aldridge, the infamous feminist lawyer who for years, she's the Al Sharpton of feminism. Just this woman is just an atrocity. How is this woman even taken seriously in 2017, going to 2018? I say if you see this woman in front of your TV representing somebody, you should immediately just shut it off and say it's all hogwash. The story with this was the woman she was representing was a woman who claimed that Roy Moore, the ex-candidate who lost the other day, did some sexual misdeeds to her, and the proof was that Roy Moore signed her yearbook, and this was weeks ago, and they said that the signature was forged, and Aldridge said, "Oh, I don't know if it's forged, but even if it is, who cares?" Everybody cares, and it came out that it was forged. The woman who made these charges came out and admitted she forged the signature, and now Roy Moore is going to take her to court. But it doesn't matter. You see, the damage is done. He lost the election. Because how many people actually read this now? How many people actually realize that the signature is forged? How many people actually believe that it's forged? It's not just a fake story. So, continue. The hard-ringers in the newsrooms complain that nobody loves them anymore, should worry less about what the critics say about them and spend more time learning their craft. Oh, yeah. And then when they get called out, these snowflakes, I don't know if it's a generational thing. I don't know if most journalists say millennials. See, then when somebody criticizes them, they start crying. You know, listen, this isn't grade school anymore, kids. You're not going to get a Purple Heart or a Gold Star, even if you make a mistake. You know. Now the teacher's not with you anymore, coddling you. This is the real world, boys and girls. An editor steeped in the art of head pounding would have told them that yes, welcome to the real world, and you're lucky you don't get fired and sued. So shut your mouth. So let's move on. I feel like I'm a broken record every week saying the same thing, and nothing gets done about it. So moving on to the next story, nearly 5 million Americans in default on student loans. Yeah, I might be one of them. Yeah, well, listen, a lot of these student loans, tuition is so high these days, and again, most of the people go after degrees that don't pay well. So when they graduate, or even when they do go after a degree that does pay well, maybe they don't have the grades and won't get a good job. The number of Americans severely behind on payments on federal student loans reached roughly 4.6 million in the third quarter, a doubling from 4 years ago despite a historically long stretch of U.S. job creation and steady income growth. In the third quarter alone, the count of such default borrowers, defined by the government as those who haven't made a payment in at least a year, grew by nearly 264,000 according to the Education Department data released Tuesday. The total number of defaulted borrowers represents about 22% of Americans who were required to be paying down the federal student loans as of September 30th. That figure has increased from 17% 4 years earlier. So this just means that tuitions are getting higher. The rise in defaults comes despite a strong labor market, unemployment at a 17-year low, and carries long-term consequences for borrowers in the economy. Defaulted borrowers risk damaging their credit and their ability to borrow from other things like homes and cars that in turn can restrain the economy's growth. Well, listen, here's another thing. As soon as these graduates get their degrees and they actually go out to the real world and do get a job, They have other things to pay for now: apartments, rent, food. You know, that loan is an albatross now. But listen, and then we know. I understand you could pay it little by little, but then it becomes a mortgage. It's kind of phenomenal, given that all tools we have at this point to avoid default, that this many people are still winding up in default, said Claire McCann, an education policy analyst at New York, a center-left think tank. These tools include options for borrowers to reduce their monthly bills by setting payments as a share of their incomes and to hold payments temporarily during rough times, such as employment. Yeah, again, can we halt rent? Can we halt food bills? Can we halt utility bills? Clothes, transportation? Research from the New York Federal Reserve last month show many borrowers who fall behind on payments dropped out of college before earning a degree and attended for-profit schools and community colleges. All right, well, I don't know what good that does, but listen, it's tough. Good strategy, and I hope I take this. The second you graduate, try to live home, pay off that loan as fast as possible. Try to pay the highest possible percentage you can per month. Get rid of it as fast as you can. Make the sacrifice of living home for 2 years at least, and then you can be free of it for the rest of your life. So moving on, another story that I've touched on in the past about sugar and sweeteners. Artificial sweeteners have an effect on the body's metabolism and can lead to excessive fat accumulation in people, especially those who are already obese, according to a recent study. Dr. Sabayashi Sen, an associate professor of medicine and endocrinology at George Washington University, led the study, explaining in a press release by the Endocrine Society that while many people rely on these artificial sweeteners as a low-calorie alternative to natural sweeteners, there is increasing scientific evidence that these sweeteners promote metabolic dysfunction. How, you say? Well, let's find out. Sen and his colleagues tested the popular low-calorie sweetener sucralose on stem cells taken from human fat cells. They placed these cells in petri dishes for 12 days, adding 0.2 millimolars of sucralose. The dose is based on the concentration of sucralose in the bloodstreams of people with high consumption levels of the artificial sweeteners, which equals about 4 cans of diet soda per day. The researchers observed increased expression of genes that produce fat and inflammation. They also saw an increased accumulation of fat droplets in the cells, especially when they increased the concentration of sucralose. Now, the last few studies I read was that basically the body gets tricked. See, these sweeteners, these artificial sweeteners are so good, meaning they are so good in disguising themselves as sugar that the body gets tricked by them. So the body just acts like it almost acts like a placebo. The body, and you keep getting fat. The metabolic dysregulation causes cells to produce more fat, according to Dr. Sen. We believe the low-calorie sweeteners promote additional fat information by allowing more glucose to enter the cells and promotes inflammation. Yes. If for those of you who don't know, whenever you intake sugar, your body produces insulin to combat sugar, and insulin opens the doors to the cells of your body. And they may be more detrimental in obese individuals, explained Sen. These findings from this study were presented at ENDO 2017, the Endocrine Society's 99th annual meeting in Orlando. So, yeah, just try to consume as little as this crap as possible. I use stevia, organic stevia. I don't know how good that is. So quickly moving on, in a new email scam that's rocking the internet, it's very disturbing when you read. It has your name, and it says it has orders to kill you, said Chief Bill Colleru with the Randor Township Police Department. In the email, which police have deemed a scam, 0.40 of Bitcoin currency is demanded. Pay up, and the writer will supposedly tell you who took out the contract in your life. Oh, my God. And, it's usually old, elderly people who fall for these scams. And as far as fetched as it seems, police reasons, should anybody be willing to take a chance? Detectives say it's the next generation of a long-running beat of extortion scams, especially when you see the disturbing nature of the email. Joe, which I know you've read, where he puts in parentheses, I have 9 confirmed executions, and I know I'm breaking the rules, but I'm trying to give you a chance, Kalaru said. If only a few people actually responded and do something, they make a lot of money. Dr. Lillian Castle, chairman of Villanova University Computer Sciences Department, said, she says, this is merely the next installment in cyber scams. Yeah, the other one used to be the Prince of Nigeria telling you he needed $20,000 to claim the throne, and then he would send you 10 pounds of gold in the mail. Experts warn residents to never respond to this type of email and encourage you to call police. Yes, people, it's called spam. Not spam like the name of this show, but it's spam mail. The FBI and Randall police are actively investigating. They're not exactly confident they'll make an arrest, but they would prefer just making people aware of the scam email is making the rounds. So, I mean, listen, first of all, whenever you see emails of this type, of anything they're promising you things or telling you to do things, it's just garbage email. Get rid of it, put it in your spam folder, and delete it forever. Okay, never respond to these. I mean, I'm not telling our audience this, you know. I know our audience is too sophisticated to ever fall for these nefarious emails. But I remember stories a few years ago of it's usually always the elderly people falling for these, how a prince or somebody's being held hostage and they need $5,000. They needed to wire them $5,000 so they could escape or pay their ransom to free their family. It's a bunch of garbage. Anyway, okay, so I guess that about does it. It was, I guess, an interesting show. Andrew again with his failing Wi-Fi. Talk about media putting out fake stories. Andrew putting out fake Wi-Fi. Anyway, that's going to do it. We'll see you next week. Thank you for listening. We'll see you next week live at 8 o'clock, December 20th. That'll be, I guess, the show before Christmas, the holidays. We'll have a Christmas show, I guess, whatever that'll be. Thank you, Nick, for joining us as guest. Andrew, we'll see you next week, and that'll do it. Good night. God bless, and God be with you. Godspeed. Dun, 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 dun.